Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to the women's basketball pregame show. To my left, Brock Stotler and Ben Line-Neumann. And boy, guys, do we have a lot to talk about. Beginning first with last game's loss for Bradley at Illinois State, a 66-54 loss. Brock, we'll start with you. What was the problem there for Bradley in that game?
Well, the main problem for Bradley was that they just really couldn't get anything going offensively. They shot 18 of 62 in the game from the field, including 3 of 24 from 3. That's just not going to get it done, especially in a league like the Valley where anybody can beat anybody on any given night. Laisha Petrie particularly struggled, 1 of 11 from three-point range for her. For ISU on their side, Julian Redmond stepped up big, had 20 points, a big double-double, 20 and 13. ISU is really starting to find their groove here as the season started to kick off, gotten a couple big wins, see themselves nice at 5-3 sitting in that middle ground in the conference. So it's a very good start for them, very big win for them as well.
Yeah, the Braves started off really slow and weren't really able to pick it back up. You know, they only had 8 points in the first quarter, shot 12% from 3 the entire game, and they also just let in way too many points in the paint, something they'll definitely have to work on in the future.
And, of course, they'll look to change that as they take on Valparaiso in this next upcoming series. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and take a look around the Valley now, beginning first actually in the Summit League, a big game upcoming that has implications for Valley teams, that being Missouri State. They are the leading vote getter outside of the top 25. And South Dakota taking on the 23rd ranked South Dakota State. I mean, we've seen South Dakota before. This could be a big game with implications for the Valley. Yeah,
if South Dakota can pull out a win there against their in-state rival, South Dakota State, that's a great chance for Missouri State. They were ranked at the beginning of the season, had a couple postponements due to COVID, so that kind of knocked them back in the rankings. Haven't really lost a whole lot of games, have looked really solid, 7-0 in Valley play. So big chance for them to get back in the top 25 ranking this weekend.
Yeah, this is going to be a really, really good game. It's two very high-scoring offenses with very solid defense. South Dakota has a better interior defense, but South Dakota State is really good guarding the three-point. So South Dakota is led by, Chloe Lamb and Liv Korngable, and also have Hannah Servin, someone who when they played Bradley earlier in the season, scored 31 points and had 20 rebounds. So it's going to be a big game for her, I think, and I think South Dakota is going to pull out with this win.
Not to mention these two teams also very battle-tested as well. South Dakota losing to then number 1 South Carolina by only 10 points, then also losing to then ranked Gonzaga. On the other hand, South Dakota State beating ranked Gonzaga. I mean, these are two teams that have faced some top competition, not to mention, of course, South Dakota with an 18-point victory against Bradley earlier on in this season. But other than that, looking around the Valley, I mean, we're halfway through the season. We've seen almost everyone in action. What are your guys' thoughts on who's been playing well so far in the Valley?
I think so far the big standout for me is Julian Redmond from ISU. She's averaging 14.6 points a game with right around 6.2 rebounds a game, shooting just under 47 or just right around 47% from the field. So very efficient. She's doing it on both ends of the floor, being that leader for ISU, both scoring defensively, getting rebounds, doing everything they need to do. And I think she's really stepped her game up this year. Was the Valley's newcomer of the year last year, 6th player of the year. So look for her to add to her potentially add to her trophy case this season.
Yeah, and I really like Grace Berg from Drake. She's one of the best scorers in the Valley this season. Can score from virtually anywhere. Great on the free throw line. Gets to the line a lot of times, makes them, and has been a real key in Drake's success this season.
I was high on Jasmine Franklin this year. Earlier in the season, she plays for Missouri State, 2nd in the Valley in rebounding. She is the difference maker there in Missouri State alongside Bryce Callip, who we believe could be in the running for Valley Player of the Year.
Yeah, no, she's my pick so far. 15 points, just right around 5 assists per game with 2.7 steals. She was Valley's Defensive Player of the Year last year. Well on her way to potentially repeating with that award as well. She's just a do-it-all point guard for Missouri State. It feels like they're going to go as far as she goes. They do have Jasmine Franklin inside. You always need that nice guard-forward combo, but it all starts with Bryce Callip for Missouri State. She can score inside, outside, get to the free throw line, distribute, get her teammates involved. So she's just a do-it-all player for Missouri State.
Yeah, Bryce Callip is a really great player, but we can't look over Bradley's Laisha Petrie. She's the leading scorer in the Missouri Valley Conference, has the top free throw percentage in the league while also averaging 2.3 blocks and 2 steals. So she's really someone that can score on you and defend you the entire night.
Now, of course, Laisha Petrie, the preseason Valley Player of the Year. Let's not also forget Bradley's Gabby Hawk, who is also in the running for Valley Player of the Year as well. She's had a fantastic season, averaging almost 18 points per game. But guys, staying in the Valley, let's take a look at some other games that are going on. The Friday-Saturday series beginning first with Illinois State at Southern Illinois. Ben, we'll start with you. What are you looking for in that series?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a good series. Illinois State has shown what they can do as their game with Bradley has shown. I think it's going to be a tight series, but I think Illinois State could come up on top. But we can't take out the fact that SIU's Abby Brockmeyer is such a good low presence for them. She is the leader in rebounds for the Valley, and I think that she's going to be a really hard low presence to stop for the Salukis.
This is going to be a very big road test for ISU. Southern Illinois is 5-1 at home this year, so they're very well at defending their home court. So Illinois State's going to have to play sharp this weekend. I think if they're going to win this game, it's going to be through Julianne Redmond, and then Terrion Moore had a nice game against Bradley. She emerged, scored 20 points. I think that was kind of a little bit unexpected. So look for her to continue to find her offense, and if she can continue to be consistent on a basis like that, then I think this Illinois State team has found themselves a nice little dynamic duo down there.
Once again, Illinois State and SIU tipping off tomorrow. That's a Friday-Saturday game. On the other hand, Drake is visiting Loyola. Brock, we'll start with you. What does Drake need to do to come away with a victory in this series?
I think Drake has probably been my biggest surprise of the Valley so far. I think when you take into account what they lost last year in Becca Hittner and Sarah Ryan, that's 40 points a game right there, just gone. And they've done a really nice job of being able to take that on the fly, make their adjustments, and have really started to hit a nice little stride, scoring 70 points on a consistent basis. And I think the big part of that is Grace Berg. She's in contention surely for Valley Player of the Year. 16 points a game, 5 rebounds, been a very nice inside presence, sort of that Sarah Ryan role that she had last year. And then there's always the solid Kira Collier and Maddie Monahan on the outside. Had a little bit more of experience, so I think Drake's just got to rely on those three and just keep playing the way they've been playing, and I think they're going to be fine.
On the other hand, Ben, of course, Loyola, they're playing very good basketball as well.
Yeah, I really like this matchup. One of the best offenses in Drake versus one of the best defenses in Loyola. I think it's going to be a really nice matchup. Like I said earlier, Loyola has won a lot of their games due to their defense, shutting down virtually any team and on anywhere in the court. So I think defense is going to be really key for Loyola in this matchup. And if they can get in the passing lanes, shut down their jump shots, and shut down their big three players, I think that Loyola could come up on top. So I'd say it's either going to be a really high-scoring win for Drake or a really low-scoring win for Loyola.
Let's look ahead now to this series at Valparaiso. What are your guys' thoughts first on the series coming up?
Well, I think first for Valparaiso, they've kind of gone with they're coming off a very competitive series against Missouri State. They played really well that second game, only lost by a point. Yes, it was at home. Missouri State, big win on the road for them, but Valparaiso, good to see them competing and keeping it very close against a potentially ranked opponent. They have really gone by a scoring with committee. They've got Carrie Weinman, Shea Frederick, and Grace White all averaging double figures. Frederick and Weinman in particular are their big three-point shooters. Bradley has to watch out for them. They're both over 35% this year, so they cannot let them get going. Got to close out with hands up and make sure they don't get around them. And then just for Valpo, they just got to do a good job. They got to keep Bradley off the boards. They're giving up 41 rebounds per game this year. That's far too high. That's not going to get it done. Valparaiso's also got to make sure they take care of the ball. Right around 17 turnovers a game. With a team like Bradley with the long arms and how they like to be aggressive in those passing lanes, that could be a very big problem. So Valparaiso's got to make sure they box out and keep control of the ball and not turn it over.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a lot tougher of a series than people might originally think. Valparaiso, I think, is a better team than the record shows. The last 4 games, they've only allowed 26 or 24% of their opponents' three-pointers to go in, and that's a really good stretch, especially against a team with players like Gabby and Laisha who like the three ball a lot. What I think Bradley needs to do is we really need to get the ball moving, set screens, move off ball, get shooters open. So to give a good chance for our shooters to get good open shots. And of course, as Brock touched on it, we really need to shut down Wyman and Frederick, great three-point shooters, and something that we'll really need to work on.
And just talking about Laisha Petrie and Bradley, I don't think you can account on Bradley shooting that poorly from the floor again, especially Laisha Petrie. That's very uncharacteristic for them. They're right around 42%. So a very efficient team, and Laisha Petrie, very efficient scorer herself. So I don't think Valparaiso can bank on having what happened against Illinois State happen again to Bradley.
Well, Ben, I'm going to come back to you then here. What are you looking at as keys to the game, or the series even, for Bradley to take home a series win at Valparaiso?
Yeah, like I touched on earlier, I think they really need to move the ball around. Their last game against Illinois State, they had a season low 4 assists, and that's just not going to cut it. You know, we need to get our shooters open, gotta get good looks at the ball, as well as defend the interior. Against Illinois State, Bradley let in 32 points in the paint, and with all their 6 losses, their opponents scored an average of 30 points in the paint. So something that really needs to be worked on. Our forwards really need to try to defend the paint and limit those opportunities.
On the other hand, Brock, what are you looking at in terms of keys to the game for Bradley to take home a series win at Valparaiso?
Yeah, I think Ben touched on it a little bit. The boxing out and keeping him out of the paint's important. The 30 points a game and the 6 losses in the paint, that's struggling. And I think Bradley's really the loss of Chelsea Brackman from last year. I really don't think they've had an exact answer or replacement yet. There is still time to find that, and I think once they do, this team's going to start to flourish like they did last year. But I think that finding that steady replacement big who can do what Chelsea Brackman does is going to get you your rebounds, play your defense, score when you need her, block your shots. Just that all-around solid defensive center in the middle to anchor down this defense.
Now, we previewed the game against Valparaiso coming up. Now it's time to choose our players in terms of who we think will be the most beneficial in this series, the X factor, if you would say. And Ben, I'll start with you. And you touched on it earlier, Valparaiso's inability to limit, or the ability to limit three-point shooters. Who do you have as your pick to click this weekend?
Yeah, with that being said, I picked Nigel White. I think with this stretch that Valparaiso is on, I think that our guards could struggle shooting the 3-ball. And that's why I picked Nyjah. I like her energy on and off the court. I like the way she plays. And I think running the pick and roll with her, getting her open in the mid-range, I think Valparaiso will have a hard time guarding her in the series. And
Brock, on the other hand, you went a separate route.
Yeah, I went with Laisha Petrie. Like I was saying earlier, 3 of 18, 1 of 11 from 3. I don't think you can account on that again. That's easily probably the worst shooting game of her career. She did still score 13 points, so she did get into the double figures, but not the efficiency you would like. I think this weekend, I think she's just going to look for her to be aggressive, seek her shots early and often, try and get to the free throw line. When you're not shooting the ball overly well, you look to try and get to the free throw line, get easy baskets. So look for her to get that way. And once she gets those layups and those tip outs and those the free throws flowing, I think her game's going to really start to take off.
On the other hand, I went a different route, kind of the same route that Brock went. Instead, I chose Mari Petrie for the reason that if Laisha and Gabby can get it going, if they're stopped actually from beyond the arc, we've seen Mari be that third scorer. She stepped up in big games, especially that Loyola series, a career high. In one of the games against Loyola, it's very obvious that Mari has the ability to be that third scorer when Bradley needs her, especially coming off the bench. Now, guys, closing thoughts now. Bradley against Valparaiso just a few hours from tip-off.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really good series. Bradley needs to move the ball around, and hopefully they can come out with a win.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think they need to come in, be aggressive, play defense early, make Valparaiso speed up and try and get them out of control, force those turnovers, build a lead early. That's been a big thing with Bradley. They've gotten down a lot early in these games, and they've had to claw their way back, and sometimes they haven't been able to do that. So I think they just need to get out early, make their shots, play defense, rebound, force some turnovers, and I think they're going to be in very good shape.
Valley basketball this weekend with the Bradley Braves taking on the Valparaiso Crusaders in Valparaiso, Indiana. For Max Kriegshauser behind the camera, Ben Line-Neumann, and Brock Stotler, I'm Cameron Irwin. We appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you next time.